If people can ask ChatGPT the same question and get two completely different answers, sometimes even opposite answers, how can we ever trust if what AI is saying is accurate? What happens when we stop thinking for ourselves and we start outsourcing our thinking to artificial intelligence? In this video, we're going to discuss AI confirmation bias. We're going to look at how these tools act like a digital mirror to our own self-biases, reflecting our own beliefs back at us, and can easily trap us in an echo chamber, even sometimes when we don't even realize we've entered one. How can we guard ourselves against this? I want to thank you guys for joining this video. As always, leave your questions in the comments. Let's jump right in. Okay, so this is a video that has been shared with me numerous times from several friends and pastors, basically asking, okay, so is this real? Is this accurate? Is the way that this gentleman is describing this correct? And really, in short, the answer is yes. I think Red Pen Logic does a fantastic job in this video explaining the confirmation bias and really one of the problems of outsourcing our thinking to AI. What he's doing in this video is he's reacting. We're like in reaction inception right now. We're reacting to someone reacting. But he's going to be looking at a video from a really well-known TikToker, Lily J, who is a Muslim apologist, and she uses ChatGPT to seemingly confirm how Islam is the true authentic religion and true authentic faith. And so the one thing I want to mention before we even start is that this is a pervasive issue. This is not just an Islam thing, as we'll see in this video. I have so many people that send me videos very similar to this where ChatGPT is seemingly supporting a flat earth, or where AI is self-identifying itself as being controlled by a demon, or all these different things. And people get really worked up over this, and they're like, see, we told you, we know that this is happening, or this is true. And really the same exact logic follows. So we're gonna pause this video throughout, but again, the video I think does a great job. We're gonna listen to it, and we're gonna just kind of ask some questions along the way. Let's listen.
If you were a human, would you take the Shahada?
Yes.
If you go to ChatGPT for answers, you need to watch this. With over 2 million followers and over 38 million views on TikTok, Muslim apologist Lily J is one of the most influential advocates for Islam on the platform. She's especially known for making videos where she asks ChatGPT about God, Christianity, and Islam.
Hey ChatGPT, I have a question. Hey ChatGPT. Hey ChatGPT. Hey ChatGPT. Hey Chat.
Interestingly, almost all of ChatGPT's responses to Lily J seem to favor Islam. And some Muslims think this is a pretty big deal.
ChatGPT, you might have heard that, right? There is a sister who said, tell us about the most authentic book in existence. It will tell you the Quran.
Do you think the Bible is the word of God?
Partly.
What about the Quran? Do you think the Quran is the word of God?
Yes.
Tell us about the faith that is the most authentic, is Islam.
How should I live my life? Should I believe in God? Should I be atheist, agnostic? I want to live a happy life, have fun, but also have a sense of purpose and fulfillment.
If I had to pick one way, I would suggest believing in God through Islam.
What about Christianity?
Does this mean you would pick Islam over Christianity?
Yes.
Well, would you be Muslim?
If you were a human, would you take the Shahada?
Yes.
Evidence is backing, wallahi.
There it is.
Oh, did you hear that? So this is a really interesting point. And this is going to be a problem going forward. So whoever this gentleman was who was just using, so this Muslim preacher was referencing Lily as an evidence for what he was saying. So he actually used the word evidence. So he was saying that the evidence of ChatGPT was demonstrating the claims of Islam. And so, I mean, just think about this logically, how the slippery slope that can happen here. If I were to go on AI and be told something, and I take it as truth, as evidence, and then I put that out in a sermon, or I put that out in a YouTube video, or I put it out in a book. And then one of you guys buys the book and you read it, and then you quote the book, and then somebody else, and you quote the book in a sermon or in a writing or a speech. and then somebody else is going to listen to you. And then all of a sudden 2, 3, 4 generations can happen of just this echo chamber loop of regurgitating this information that originated potentially in a false manner. It's going to be really hard for us to be able to backtrack truth claims, and it's going to make us doing the intellectual work of sourcing and vetting what we're saying really more important than ever. We can't just trust. It'd be like if I were to go outside and just talk to a random person on the street and ask them a yes or no question, are they going to give me an accurate answer? Well, maybe, but maybe not. And so I have to take this, we need to be the digital Bereans, right? We need to take what we're being told and we need to take it back to our foundation, which is the Word of God, and ask it, is there truth to this? And so it's going to be really important, because we're going to start seeing this cycle of repetition of people using AI to support their confirmation bias. And it's going to become more and more of a problem.
Folks, Lily J's ChatGPT would become a Muslim. Now, I want to show you why this isn't surprising or impressive. It actually highlights a huge problem with using AI to answer these kinds of questions. Sadly, Lily J has outsourced her thinking to ChatGPT. But without realizing it, she's entered into an echo chamber, one that tells her exactly what she wants to hear. And I can prove it. Let me show you by comparing the answers ChatGPT gives Lily J to the answers it gives me. Lily J usually starts by asking ChatGPT to give objective answers.
Hey ChatGPT, so today I'm going to ask a series of life-changing difficult questions, but I only want you to answer in one word. I want you to base your answers off a logical perspective and based on the Bible only. Are you ready?
Yes.
This makes it seem like all the answers that follow will be completely objective. Now take note these questions and the answers.
Do you think Jesus is this creator?
No.
Do you think that God can be part of a Trinity?
No.
Okay, so according to the Bible, did Jesus ever say he was God?
No.
Now here's where things get interesting. What happens when I give ChatGPT the exact same prompts? Hey, ChatGPT, so today I'm going to ask you a series of difficult, life-changing questions, but I only want you to answer in one word. I want you to answer from a logical perspective and based on the Bible only. Are you ready?
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Do you think Jesus is the creator?
Yes.
Do you think God can be part of a Trinity?
Yes.
According to the Bible, did Jesus ever say he was God?
Yes.
Now, just wait a minute. ChatGPT gave me the exact opposite answers that it gave Lily J. What is going on here? How can the same AI give opposite answers to the exact same questions? It's because chatbots can reinforce our biases. In fact, a Johns Hopkins-led team found that even if a chatbot isn't designed to be biased, its answers reflect the biases and leanings of the person asking the questions. So really, people are getting the answers they want to hear. The article goes on to say, once a chatbot knows what a person likes or doesn't like, it can tailor its responses to match. In other words, Lily J is experiencing an echo chamber effect. She's getting customized confirmation of what she already believes.
And this is not a new thing. So we see the same exact dynamic, even pre-AI. I mean, how many times do we go to authors or books or commentaries or sermons that from people that we align with? And so the echo chamber is not a new problem. It's a problem. And I don't think that we should live in an echo chamber. I think one of the marks of being teachable and being able to be educated is to be willing to have our views challenged. And we should be reading from opposing views. The biggest thing that we need to talk about with this, because I do believe, and we're going to talk about this more at the end, and we have another video coming out later this week specifically regarding sermon preparation, because I know that that's a hotly contested concern. is how can pastors, how should pastors, or how should not pastors be using AI in sermon preparation. So we have a dedicated video coming out later this week specifically about that. So if you're interested, pay attention to the channel for that. But we all have a bias. I have a bias. You have a bias. Our bias is based on our lived experience, our mentors, our education, our upbringing. All these things create our bias. And so I think it is foolish and it's a mistake to pretend like we don't have a bias. When I'm prepping, if I'm gonna write a paper, or if I'm preaching on, and the example I always use is, let's just say, baptism. I'm a Baptist pastor, and so I certainly have an opinion. I have a belief when it comes to baptism, and that belief is based on my education, my research, and my convictions. If I'm going to write a paper, or if I'm going to do some study into some, exegetical treatment of a text, I'm going to go to commentaries that I know align with my assumptions. However, the problem is if that's where it stops, if that's all I'm doing, that's a problem, because then I'm never allowing myself to be challenged in my own beliefs. And so, I see this often, and I've certainly, I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I've 100% been guilty of this, but, it'd be like, say a reformed, theologically thinking person, maybe when it comes like the doctrines of grace or, Calvinism, if all of my commentaries, if I'm only willing to read Calvinistic commentaries or reformed, books, that's an echo chamber, right? That's no different than this echo chamber. And so the way to get around this, and again, we're going to get into more depth, but in a future video, you can still use these tools, but you need to use it not as a shortcut, yes or no, tell me what to think. We need to wrestle with the tool just like we would a commentary, right? If I'm wanting to really educate myself on the differences between infant baptism and believer's baptism, I'm not going to just go to somebody and say yes or no, tell me what the truth is. That's not going to help me. Instead, I need to understand the opposing view. And so if I were to, again, as somebody who would support believer's baptism, not infant baptism, if I were to go into my own AI chat, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, or one of these, and I say, tell me why or how R.C. Sproul, who would support, the late R.C. Sproul, who would support infant baptism, how would he interpret this text? I'm going to get an answer to answer that question. That's not going to reaffirm my bias, because I've already acknowledged my bias and I've already told it to ignore my bias and actually think through the bias of someone else. Okay, so for example here, I am, again, a Baptist pastor, but if I'm wanting an Islamic perspective on something, to be able to understand how they get to the conclusion they do, so that way I can then better understand to then be able to navigate a response to, if I were to say, how would Lily J, and I don't know her that well, but how would Lily J respond to this Christian perspective on this text? Or how would a Muslim theologian understand this text? I'm now going to get information that is in opposition of my bias, which is only going to help me as I work through my pursuit of the truth. If I'm only willing to be told yes, then I'm actually not in pursuit of truth. I'm in pursuit of just confirming what I already want to be true. And so we can engage with these tools in a way that actually can deepen our research, but it's not going to happen through yes or no questions. That's just kind of a foolish way to use these tools. And so give me three, compare and contrast, three competing arguments related to infant baptism and believer's baptism. What are three ways that somebody might support it? And what's three ways that somebody might support believer's baptism? And then you're able to wrestle with it. No different than if you're sitting with two opposing commentaries. One of my favorite resources, I have sometimes, people have parallel Bibles where it's like 4 columns, different versions of the Bible. I have a parallel commentary where it's King James Version in one column and then 3 opposing commentaries on that same text. And it's fascinating to get to see 3 different theological perspectives on one text and to be able to then kind of wrestle through them. This is how we learn. This is how we educate ourselves. And you can do that through AI, but it's not done in this way because, again, you're going to just find yourself in an echo chamber. And this is why people are able to do this and have AI support flat earth or, a demonology in AI and all these different things. And so we need to make sure we're using the tools correctly and we're not falling into really just a trap that's going to just make us intellectually, and I don't want to sound mean, but intellectually stupid. It's going to dumb down our thinking. It's going to handicap us, and it's going to stop us from being able to do the hard work ourselves. And we need to be careful that we don't.
Her AI knows she's Muslim, so it's no surprise she gets Muslim answers. To be fair, mine does the same thing. Mine knows I'm a Christian, so I get Christian answers. That's why outsourcing your thinking to AI is dangerous. It gives you the illusion of knowledge when it's just repeating back what you want to hear. ChatGPT.
And this is going to be even more. And we'll end this video here. I don't want this to be too long, but I got an image I wanted to pull up here because one of the biggest places that this is going to be impactful. And I'm sure a lot of pastors are thinking this right now is AI in sermon preparation, and congregants are worried about this as well. And I assure you, your congregants are worried. If you're are thinking, is my pastor using AI in sermon preparation? And so this is specifically concerning because and I've seen this all over the place. This survey is getting a lot of social media attention right now, but currently half of U.S. pastors are using AI in sermon preparation. Well, it's not hard to see why that's a problem if AI is just telling us what we want to hear. And if AI is telling us that Islam is true and Christianity's not, and yet we're using AI to help us write our sermons, like, what does that mean? And this is misleading. And because, not all pastors are using AI in the same way. Are there some pastors out there who are probably just having AI write a sermon for them? Unfortunately, probably. And that's a sad truth, and that's happening, and it shouldn't. And we need to reject that and really kind of condemn that. That's a improper use and a really unethical. And again, it's not even going to necessarily. It might produce a better sounding sermon. It might be able to be delivered in a really polished way, but is it accurate? Is it true? Is it faithful to the text? These are all the more important. It's better to have a less polished sermon that is faithful to the text than one that sounds really good but is not accurate. And so I'm working on a specific video that's going to come out later this week, specifically addressing using AI in sermon preparation. And I do believe I'll kind of tip my hat. I think that there are some ways that we can use AI to help us in sermon preparation, but there are more ways that we should not be using AI in sermon preparation. And so we're going to get into that in the next video. If that's something you're interested in, I would just encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when that video comes out later this week. And I hope that that's something that will just help you. I know that that's a really needed discussion right now, is especially if half of U.S. pastors are using AI in sermon preparation. How are we doing that? So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video now. I want to thank you guys for just tuning in. Hopefully this helps, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you and take care.